Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is 𝐶𝐿.
And I'm Danny.
And this is our 90th episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode, listeners. We hope that you enjoyed 89. That was a fun one for me on a personal level because I care deeply about health in the digital world because it is overwhelming and it just keeps evolving. And I feel like I'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but honestly, if you want to get the skinny, check out episode 89 on digital wellness, where Danny and I went over lots of tips on how to clean up your digital space and make it work for you rather than having it control you and potentially harm you.
And shout out to Athena, who caught the error in the podcast where 𝐶𝐿 goes, yeah, I've been doing it since August. And I went, August. And it just kept going. And it's really, really funny. And I didn't catch it. 𝐶𝐿 didn't catch it. Christina didn't catch it, or she's making fun of us by leaving it in. But Athena caught it. So that was pretty funny. I'm sure we do lots of that in our day-to-day life also.
Yeah, there's so much like, what's the joke coming from me because I wind up misspeaking a lot. I don't know, maybe it's the New Yorker me where I talk real fast, and it's not that I'm not thinking clearly. It's not that I'm not well worded. It's just my words just kind of get jumbled up because I talk really fast often and I'm in the middle of lots of stuff. But it's awfully funny when I say something stupid. And honestly, I think at this point, Danny's so used to the way that I speak that she doesn't catch half the crap that I say, or she just can't concern herself or care about it because, like, whatever, it's just how he speaks. Oh gosh. I have been thoroughly enjoying your love of all things fall before it's fall, like going to the Spirit of Halloween stores exist in other places, or is that?
Yeah, it's like the Walmart of Halloween. Basically, they're everywhere.
I was driving Daisy and Desmond to school this morning, and Daisy's like, I saw a pumpkin. And I asked her, I was like, did you see it at the Spirit of Halloween? She's like, no, I saw it out the window. I was like, oh. Because just like y'all have been going there, like, I mean, you've gone there at least twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
apparently it opened in August, so I went in August, and we took the kids, and there's so many different stores, and they all have different big animatronics set up in them, and that's all we're there for. We're there to visit the animatronics, really. And the kids walk in, and they're so brave walking in, and then as soon as they see them, I'm like, go ahead, go step on the thing, and they're like, no. And at some point, somebody stepped on something, like another customer stepped on one of them, and it startled Desmond, and he literally took off running like the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz down that hallway when he jumps out the window, and I had to find him because he just ran away. It was really funny.
I'm really envious and a bit jealous of the time that y'all get to spend. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my space, my personal time, but competition prep, which is what I'm going through, is all about energy conservation and the fact that you have low energy. And honestly, expending more energy than I should with extracurriculars that are just like how you normally live, it can actually wind up leading to me making a misstep or not getting everything I need to get done. So I have to know my limitations, but it's a shame because I want to be with my family. I want to be a family man. And I also want to just enjoy. I love the fall. And I'm like, 3 weeks out now from competing? So I have to be especially careful because this is the time where I dig. Speaking of which, season opener for me is the Plant Build show. It's Plant Build event, I should say, because it's different sports. Unfortunately, Olympic weightlifting is no longer a thing, so that sub-team of ours will not have something to compete at, but hopefully next year. But yeah, long story short, October 8th, October 9th, Atlantic City, Mr. America, the whole Plant Build team will be there. It's going to be like 25 of us. Would love to see you out there. If you cannot get out there, it will be streamed on the All Sports Network, and you'll have access to that on Amazon and on Hulu. And then obviously you'll hear from us and you'll know when you can catch it. We'll let you know in the future.
Have you guys heard of the Vegan Cruise? If not, we want to tell you about it because we are so excited to be presenters on the 2023 cruise, and we would love to see you guys there. So the Vegan Cruise is exactly what it sounds like and so much more. It's a cruise from March 17th to March 24th that leaves from Miami and will be visiting Belize, Honduras, Costa Maya, and the Bahamas on the beautiful MSC Divinia. It is so cool to wake up in a new country every day of the trip, seriously. But as if that wasn't enough, one of the biggest drawbacks of most cruises is that there's nothing vegan to eat. I had a client actually go on a cruise recently, and she said she was shocked at how little she could eat, and for that price, it just was not worth it for her. But that's not a problem on this cruise because all 3 meals are fully catered, vegan, and made by gourmet chefs. You will never be hungry. There are also get-togethers like ice cream socials and pizza parties out by the pool. Very fun. And to top all of that off, the cruise is absolutely loaded with some of the biggest leaders in the vegan movement giving lectures, presentations, and classes. Folks like Dr. Greger, Dr. Barnard, Dr. Clapper, Robert Cheek, Juliana Hever, and so many more, and of course, us. We will be hosting exercise classes and giving presentations on plant-based fitness. And of course, we would very much love to spend time with any of our listeners who come out. So if you're interested, click the link in the show notes to book your spot because it always sells out, and mention Vegan Proteins when you book and you'll get a $50 onboarding credit at the vegan bookstore. We look forward to vacationing with you guys. So what are we talking about today?
Oh, digging right into it. I had more stuff to chit chat about, but sure, let's dig right into it. Well, last episode was about the digital environment, which I feel like is a perfect segue into this episode, which is also about your environment, but it's like your environment on the whole, and how setting it up properly will make it so that you're winning. Your environment will always win. That's the topic today that we want to get into. And what that means for everyone is going to be a little different. I think in broader terms, and then I get a little more granular with it when I think about my environment and what it means to have a healthy environment that sets me up for success no matter what. For me personally, it starts with where I live, like my living space, my territory, if you will. It's like my safe place. If where I live is cluttered or it's not set up in an intentional way, with like temporary things out all over the place and sort of like a disorganized fashion, I suffer. I'm not a neat freak per se, and I'm not obsessive about my environment, my territory. However, I do need things to make sense, and I do need things to be somewhat tidy and organized, and honestly, even arguably clean. Like I can let go of cleanliness to some degree, even though I feel like hygiene is important if I don't have the time for it, but it does stress me out.
I would entirely disagree with you that you are absolutely a neat freak and obsessed with tidiness. You're like, I'm not obsessed. I'm not a neat freak. No, you are, but it's okay. We love you for it anyway. I think what's really interesting about environment is basically what I think is that you're always going to sink to the level of your environment because the way your world is set up around you is basically the easiest choices to make. Every second of every day, we're faced with a bazillion choices. You wake up and what do? Do you go to the bathroom? Do you pick up your phone? What do you wear that day? What are you going to have for breakfast? Like there's decisions to be made all day. And as human beings, like we are often going to choose the path of least resistance. Consciously or unconsciously. This is a thing that we are just designed to do. And there was actually this really interesting study, humor me for a minute. So they looked at countries in Europe and the percentage of people who were organ donors. In Austria, 99.98% of people are organ donors. In Belgium, 98%. France, 99.91%. Hungary, 99.997. Poland, 99.5. You get where I'm going with this. But here were some other ones. Denmark, 4.25. Netherlands, 27.5. United Kingdom, 17%. Germany, 12%. Now, you could argue like there's some social differences between those countries, et cetera, et cetera. But some of these countries are right next to each other. There's not a huge difference. So why does Denmark have 4.2%, but Sweden has 86% people are organ donors? Because in those countries with the high percentage of organ donors, you have to opt out of being an organ donor. When you like do your, I don't know, I assume license like it is here, but maybe it's something else. You have to check a box that says, I don't want to be an organ donor. And in all those countries with the really, really low number, you have to check a box to say, I do want to be an organ donor. So I don't think it's that those countries with the really high numbers are particularly moral or high and mighty or more selfless or anything. We are human beings and we are lazy and we don't check the box. That's it. We just don't check the box because it's an extra step we have to do. And when you relate that to your environment, you want to remove the extra steps between you and the thing you want to do or the person you want to be. And ideally, you want to create more steps between you and the thing you don't want to do and the person you don't want to be.
Okay, what happens if you create more steps between the thing that you don't want to do and the person that you want to be? Am I saying that properly?
I don't know. What's the question?
Well, the question is like, say that you intentionally make it harder to do something you don't want to do, and then you find yourself constantly looking for a way to cheat yourself to do the thing anyway, and then you spend time doing that.
What I'm saying is you're way less likely to do that when there are more steps. I'm not saying it's impossible. For example, if I want Taco Bell, I have to get in my car and drive to Taco Bell. That's a pain in the butt. If I'm like, I'm in the mood for Taco Bell, that sounds like a pain. I'm not going to do it. As opposed to I don't know who has Taco Bell in their house. Okay, let's say I want cookies and I don't have them here. If I'm craving a cookie, and I say, but I'd have to go to the store and buy them, and no, thank you. But if I just have cookies in my cabinet, or worse, if I have cookies in a clear jar on my counter, I'm going to eat the damn cookie, right? As soon as I see it in the jar, even if I'm not hungry, I'm way more likely to eat a cookie because I just saw it, and we're just reacting to our environment.
Yeah, it's funny that I'm going to talk psychology a little bit, because I agree with you. However, I don't fully agree here in terms of, approach. Part of me, honestly, when you make something harder to access, it becomes forbidden fruit. And I do feel like it's healthy to do that in terms of your environment, which is literally the context of this. So I don't want to go too off topic, but I do want to wax philosophical a little bit and talk psychology. So part of me does do that with stuff. I make it harder to access things I don't want, or I put things in front of me to think twice. Like if I'm struggling, it just might sound crazy to some people, but if I'm struggling, I'm really hungry and there's ice cream there, and I don't want to burden anyone else in the house. They should be able to have ice cream. It shouldn't be their burden that I'm dieting. I want to have ice cream once in a while, but I don't want it all the time. So I'll open up the freezer to grab veggies. I'll see the ice cream, but I'll put an empty container, an empty can of seltzer in front of it, because it'll remind me, it'll be like, this can of seltzer is in front of there for a reason. Go have a can of seltzer, dude. Don't have the ice cream. I'm talking about extreme hunger signal, not the average example. But there are other times where, honestly, and it's not to tempt me, it's just to know that I have the right and the freedom to choose whatever I want, where I will literally put things in front of me that I will never have, but I just know that I have the option. I don't know, sweetener, for example, or sugar, or whatever it is, an ice cream topping. I don't know. I don't have an exact specific example here, but my point is, for me personally, it's a combination of making things harder, but also having some things readily accessible that I would ordinarily avoid to tell myself, it's okay.
Yeah, but that just sounds like an exercise in willpower. Literally, you are giving yourself an exercise in willpower so that you can flex your willpower muscle and get stronger and stronger at it.
I don't feel that way. For me, it feels like not trying to, is a difference between boundaries, and there's a difference between literally making your life, making yourself feel restricted, or I don't want to feel like I'm depriving myself, or that I cannot be, or I have no self-control. I don't know that it's necessarily an exercise in strengthening my willpower, I think it's more of like I don't want to make my environment just so restrictive and so I don't know, the kind of setup where it's like you literally have to put something between you and the thing that you don't want. You don't agree with me, do you?
Not even a little bit. Not even. Well, here's the thing. I just know what an unbelievably unique person you are. So while I'm like thrilled that that works for you, I actually think that for the vast majority of people, they are very far away from that place. Like that is somebody who's been working at this particular thing for 10 years. It's not like your average person who's trying to just get fitter and healthier. I'm not going to be like, yep, just go ahead and put chocolate pieces on the counter so you can remind yourself that you're not deprived. Like that to me, that just feels like setting somebody up for failure. Because yeah, they might be able to avoid the chocolate bar 9 times that they walk by it, but on the 10th time they cave. And then because again, I just don't think we should rely on our willpower that much. Our willpower muscle is not as strong as we would like to believe it to be. And that's why I feel like and when I say we, I just mean like humans in general, will fall to the level of their environments. So we should aim to try to make our environments as conducive to the person we want to be possible. And I recognize this even more when we bought this house, actually. So we bought it with my mother. So we all live together in the house, and she's wonderful. She's a doll to live with. But, she keeps foods in the house like that we just don't normally keep in the house. We don't normally have a cabinet with like chips or crackers or cookies or something. We might have like a container of chips or a container of cookies. There's like a lot of snacks in this house right now. And for myself, I'm not used to that anymore. And it took a while for me to sort of set the kitchen up in a way where I wasn't finding myself reaching for them so often. Not that there's any problem with chips or cookies or anything like that. We talk about all the time how you can incorporate anything into your food and reach your goals as long as you're doing it intelligently. However, it's just not something that I want to be reaching for multiple times throughout the day. I'd rather have healthier whole foods more often than cookies. So,
I get it.
Putting them in a kind of hard to reach place where I need to get a little step stool to get up there and grab them. I can't really see them from where I'm standing on the floor. All of that's been really helpful, but recognizing, oh, Danny, your willpower is not as great as you thought it was. You just didn't have these foods in the house very often. So my environment was significantly stronger than my willpower.
Okay, but to debate you a little more, say that you had nothing but whole foods in the house. Wouldn't you feel like you wish you had a little something more in the house than one thing? And when you had the one thing in the house, wouldn't you overindulge in it?
I mean, yes, we talk about that a lot. But if I wanted something, I personally prefer to go out and have some. Like, go out and have it.
Yeah.
That's just my preference. I would rather do that than have just like packages and packages of things in the cabinet. Not because I don't trust myself to sit down and eat the whole package at once, but I don't even want to have like a little bit every day until it's gone. That's a really easy way to build a habit that you don't maybe necessarily want to build. Because unfortunately, good habits are super hard to build, but bad habits seem to get built like by the time you've done something twice. Like, oh, my brain has decided this is a habit now. Right?
Yeah, it's very true.
And if you don't do a good habit twice, your brain's like, cool, we don't do that thing anymore. And you're like, damn it. So...
crap. Yeah, and in all honesty, I have some fear here as well and some reservations about my intention being carried out and my willpower, because I've exercised a lot of willpower to go through this prep, and it's like afterwards when I don't need to do these things and I have access to all these kinds of foods that we have in the house, I am a little scared of losing my habits, because I've been eating mostly 95% whole foods, because I'm like, whatever, I'm going to go through this. I might as well take care of my body, and I'll be at a calorie deficit, so I might as well eat as nutritionally dense as possible to take care of my body, and this food will just work better for my body. to get the results I need. And I'm worried. So what I've done, Danny, is I've actually journaled about, I've wrote a journal, I wrote a piece of paper out, and it says things that I want to continue to do after prep. And I write them out. Continue to eat vegetables, continue to eat fruits, continue to eat grains, nuts, and seeds. Things that I wasn't even necessarily doing before prep, but I committed to doing during prep. And I want to continue to do them. And then I'm looking around the house, I'm like, damn it. Am I gonna do that? And I just keep looking back to that piece of paper to remind me, like, this is what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, prep is the ultimate exercise in willpower, which is part of the reason it can't last forever. Like, you just can't. You are white knuckling it at the end. And again, that's a very unique situation. Like, contest prep is very much its own thing. But hopefully, listeners, if you are not in contest prep, you shouldn't be white knuckling through almost anything. Like, maybe once in a while you like get a real hankering for something in the evening and you don't want to blow past your macros and you have to distract yourself away from it. But if you feel like you're white knuckling your way through like pretty much everything, the plan you're following probably isn't very sustainable. So something to keep in mind.
I remember when we were doing the vegan strong boxes and we had an entire floor.
Basement, the whole basement, just full of snacks. So many snacks. Oh my God. Yeah, I guess I'm like, yeah, we didn't keep snacks in the house before. Oh yeah, except for the entire warehouse of them we had in the basement. But wait, this goes to the environment bit. They were in the basement. So I didn't eat them very much because I had to decide I wanted a thing, go downstairs, find the thing, and bring it back up. But quite frankly, because I couldn't just see it, sitting on my couch or at my desk, I forgot that we even had it. And that is me in a nutshell, guys. If I can't see something, I forget that it exists. Not object impermanence. I know the thing exists, but I will just forget that it's there. So this to me goes back to environment. The stuff that you don't want to be doing frequently, get it out of your sight. We talked about this on digital wellness. Put the social media apps that you don't want to be seeing over and over again on the last page of your phone or delete them entirely. Keep your phone out of the bedroom because when you don't see it, you're not on it. When you don't see the snacks or the junkier food or that particular habit that you're trying to break, when you don't see it, you are way less likely to indulge in it, which is also the same reason that we put bowls of fruit on the counter, right? That's why we put bowls of fruit on the counter, so that you will see it and you will reach for that thing because you saw it, and fruit is great for you. So you should do that. But, these are the same principles, just opposite ends.
Yeah, and for me, I'm the resident forager and in control of like what we harvest, so to speak, whether it's snacks especially, stuff like that. So like I'm a little squirrel with stuff. I'll put everything away and I'll make sure that our environment is set up in a responsible way, whereas Danny's like, oh, I know you can trust it because that I'm not going to like put 5 different snacks and 20 of each snack right there smack in the middle of the pantry. I'm going to put it out of sight, out of mind downstairs, and then every once in a while I'll bring a couple upstairs, like a reasonable amount of everything, rather than saying clean your house out of everything. Like that's not an answer. And you're going to want these things, and then maybe you'll feel deprived. But if you just have a backstock of things somewhere where you gather, and then every once in a while you throw some stuff up on rotation that you want to enjoy in moderation, have access to, but it's not overwhelming, like a snack here, a snack or two here or there, and just a couple items, like Danny said, you're less likely to do something you don't want to do. And it's not going to replace the fruit bowl on the countertop. It's going to be somewhere like where you need a step stool to get it, or behind the cabin door, for example.
Yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, if it's out of sight, then you'll never eat it ever. Because believe it, I have gotten that stool out and found some chips when I really want some chips, and I know that they're there. All I'm saying is you're less likely to. And when you put the healthy food, and it's chopped and prepped and ready and at eye level, you're more likely to eat that, and less likely to eat the stuff that you can't see. That's all. Some habits are just harder to break than others, and definitely that is true. So, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you can hear the food calling you from another room. It feels like, but hopefully over time that becomes less and less and less.
And flood your environment with a bigger stock of the things that you want to have. Like my buddy and I prepped a whole bunch of protein. We were making 5 pounds of vegan meat an hour on average. I did that little math for fun. And we walked away with like 20, 25 pounds of vegan meat. We divvied it up, tossed it in our chest freezers, and now our chest freezers are loaded with the stuff that we do want to have. So even our back stock has like better availability for the things that we do want to have versus the things that we don't want to have as often. Because again, set yourself up the way that you want to be set up, including with the stuff that's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So we've been talking a lot about food, particularly like food in your environment, but there are so many different ways that your environment could be set up for success or for failure, not just pertaining to food, but also to the gym, to any other self-care routine, to your work environment, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about training specifically. What do you think about making your environment more ideal for training?
Good pivot. It's one of the things on my mind as well. When it comes to training, I like to have certain things laid out ahead of time, from a training journal to a gym bag to gym clothes, and knowing when I'm gonna go, and even like having my commute set up. For me, it's a car. So my car is set up the way that I want it, right? Like my center console has my pre-workout. So like I can't even get lazy about it. I have my pre-workout, like, oh crap, like I just took my whatever. It doesn't have to be caffeinated, just something I have before I train. I'm gonna call it a protein shake. But once I have it, like, you better damn well believe I'm going into that gym. And I get in my car, even when I'm not training, it reminds me, like, you're a guy who trains. Like, you're gonna get to your next training session. So the gym bag, the clothing, the training journal, the commute, and also the gym. Why don't you speak to what you like your environment to be when you're in your locker room, getting ready, and in the gym? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not a ton. I did want to say, like, I actually keep my gym bag in the car. Like, it doesn't leave the car. It's very rare I need something that's in my gym bag inside of the house, so it just stays there. Another thing that I wanted to mention in line with that is, the clothes. That was on my list also. Lay out your gym clothes. Or in my case, I almost wear a uniform. I know it's like a joke with Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, and they all wear uniforms and ha 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 ha. But I kind of do. Like, I always am wearing black leggings and a sports bra, and usually a hoodie on top of that. And because of that, all the leggings I have go with all the sports bras, go with all the hoodies. So I don't have to think about anything. I just pull those things on. It takes me literally 30 seconds to get dressed in the morning. And then I have a very set morning routine, which is a separate thing. But yeah, I leave the gym bag in the car. And then when I get to the gym, I don't know, I just always do the exact same thing. I always walk right to go to the exact same locker, et cetera, et cetera. And I always have my headphones in. So for me at the gym, that's important, actually. It's the most important thing, is my headphones. Almost more than anything else. If I don't have my headphones, I am probably not going to train. And that sounds really dramatic, but it's a twofold. One, I like music, and I'm very easily distracted. And the music kind of helps me stay in the zone, and also they're noise canceling. They block out other noise, which is the second fold. I don't want people to talk to me. I have done workouts with dead headphones in my ears that are not playing anything, just because I don't want anybody to come talk to me while I'm working out. Everybody there is lovely, I'm sure. I don't have anything against anybody at the gym, but I'm not there to chit chat. I am very busy. I'm there to get in, do my shit, and get out. And that is it. And then I come home.
Yeah, while you're there are some new things that I've deployed on the training floor to help me make sure that I'm taking care of myself. You want to stay hydrated while you're training? carry a water bottle.
Yep.
And for me, there are actually lockers right next to the station where I fill up my water bottle. So I leave my electrolytes right by the water station. I carry a water bottle, and it actually reminds me to refill with my electrolytes and to fill up my electrolytes, and that I need to use the water station and all that. I used to be all about jug life, carrying a gallon. Yeah. But honestly, I found that it was a little bit
cumbersome.
Meaning?
Heavy and kind of big and clunky to carry around.
Exactly. Yeah. And a little bit hard to continue to do. So I found myself getting lazy with staying hydrated. Mm-hmm. But the alternative was like, oh, well, if I have this small water bottle, I'm just not going to drink enough. So something about using the locker near the water station and just, I don't know, it's worked. I wind up refilling it, and I wind up staying, honestly, even though it's a smaller container, it's always on me. Yeah. Anyways, well, just one little thing.
With hydration, I mean, that's another thing that you can set up in your environment. There's a few ways that you can do this. So my water bottle never leaves my side. It is always with me. Because if I do not see it, again, I will forget that it exists, and I won't drink water all damn day. So I keep it, the most important thing is I keep it full next to my bed, like where I'm sleeping. It's right there all night long. So, you know, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, you gotta pee, and then you're thirsty. So my water's right there. And then when I wake up in the morning, I also take all my supplements with that water. And then generally by the time I get to the gym, that first liter's gone. I fill it up again, and I make sure that my second liter is gone by the time my workout is over. Now, no, I don't drink half a gallon by like 8 a.m. My workout's at noon. So I have like 2 liters in by 1:30 in the afternoon. And then I fill it up again, make sure it's gone by the end of the day. And then I fill it up one more time before I go to bed. So yeah, I mean, just like on a regular, not special at all day, I'm easily drinking 3 liters of water by the end of the day, which is plenty for me personally. But it all reminds me of the book Atomic Habits, which if you haven't read Atomic Habits, I do recommend it. I really think it was great. But a lot of these environmental things that we're talking about are really about setting up visual cues and then kind of lumping a bunch of little habits together, so that eventually you don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to think about, oh, I need to have a liter down by this, and then I need to have a liter down by here. I just do it now. But it all starts because I see that water bottle first thing in the morning, and then I'm like, oh yeah, gotta go use that water to take all my supplements. So then I'm half a liter's gone just taking the supplements basically. And all of the other things that I do that are combined with that habit, washing my face, doing my skincare, putting on my sunscreen, brushing my teeth, taking my supplements, and drinking half a liter of water all happen in under 10 minutes. First thing when I wake up. And also making my bed and putting on my clothes. Like all of that is maybe 12 minutes of me waking up. And yeah, then like I've already done all of that for the day. And it's not because I'm some superhuman. It's because I've literally put all of those things together right next to each other in my environment. Because what's the first thing you do when you wake up? You go to the bathroom, and then everything is right there, and it's just done. So yeah, the more I think about this, the more I think about how the environment thing, it is literally about setting up good visual cues to do good things and getting rid of or getting out of sight bad visual cues, like the way we keep our remotes for the TV in a drawer in the living room. They don't just sit on the coffee table. They're actually in a drawer because we have to pull it out to turn on the TV. So we're less likely to. And also the kids forget they exist, which is nice.
Sometimes it's a little sad because you just wind up not doing it or just getting frustrated because you're not watching TV when if the remote was out, you'd probably, I don't know. But not to get on a tangent, because there's actually some other tips I want to give you about training. Things that I found that are working for me. So aside from like the commute and getting there and being in the parking lot and being like, yo, had your protein shake, go in. When I get into the gym, when I am in the locker room, I have my training journal on an app. That's just how I work it. And I open up the app and I have my workout up on my phone. Now I can't
Yeah.
diddle around on my phone. My workout's up.
Same. I do the same thing.
And then the very next thing I do is I look at my working weights. So now I have my working weights and my exercises and my app up on my phone. And now the intention is there and the actionable steps are right in front of me. And I am ready to be on the gym floor doing these things. My brain is there before I am, essentially, without my brain being there in an unhealthy, anxious like state. It's just like, oh, that's what you're doing. And you'll have an easier time navigating the floor if your stations are occupied because you already know how to pivot and move around.
Yeah, you know where you're going to go next. Which is also why it's really important to have a plan, guys. Stop wasting time being like, oh, I think I'll do this today. Oh, I think I'll do that today. Not a good idea.
The next thing that I do when I'm on the gym floor is I've set up a focus filter, which is a iOS 16 update where you can literally change how your phone displays depending on what you're doing. So if you're at work, your phone will display a certain home screen and certain apps and prohibit certain apps and you from doing certain things. I mean, it's a little bit of legwork to set it up, but if you use the focus filters, they can actually work for you. So I set up a focus filter for the gym. And on my focus filter for the gym, there is my scanner to sign up to check in. There is the music app. There's a messenger in case I need it. And there's a music app, and there's an audiobook app. And there's some health and fitness things that are unrelated to the gym. So now I'm sitting down in the gym, and I know, just similar to Danny, I'm there for business, and I also want, me time. So I'm gonna probably listen to music or listen to a book. And I'm also gonna log my workouts. And hey, maybe I need to message somebody or someone needs to message me. I'm not gonna get distracted on my phone. I'm not gonna be doing other things. It's the only thing my phone can give me access to. And as a reward, I'm in the gym and I'm thinking about health and fitness. So say my brain wants to go elsewhere because I'm bored, because I'm doing the same specific thing all the time at the gym. I'm repeating exercises. I'm becoming an expert at movement patterns to be a better bodybuilder. And I'm getting bored. And I want to do something else. I'm looking at trails on different mountains. I'm looking at slopes so I can prepare for snowboarding in the winter. I'm looking at my health app and what my last tests were and my levels that came in from the doctor. Or I'm like looking at my steps or my heart rate, for example. So I'm getting more deeply immersed in fitness while I'm training, and that helps it so that I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm a little bored, but I gotta just do this anyway. Like, no. I'm there to be about fitness, and I can actually contribute to my quality of life by doing other things that are fitness related, because that is the way that I set my phone up. And I found that to be pretty rewarding. That's a new thing for me. That's been happening for the past 2 weeks, and so far so good. I feel pretty good about it.
Interesting. Another thing that I wanted to mention is just making sure that you actually like your gym, making sure that it makes you feel motivated, has the stuff that you need. I don't think I mentioned it on this, but I recently actually left the gym that 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 and I had been training at since the pandemic and signed back up for my old gym again. And I am just so much happier there. And there's nothing wrong with the gym that we were at. It was perfect for the pandemic because everything was super spaced out. It was incredibly clean and they were being very safe and we appreciated that. So we went there. But as far as just like now that things are closer to back to normal, they didn't have the equipment that I liked. The vibe just was not my vibe at all. It's like, it's a very, very Gucci, hoity-toity, kind of country club-esque gym. And that's cool if I want to take the kids swimming. But to lift, I just wasn't really that impressed with their lifting floor. So I went back to my crappy $30 a month gym, the same gym that I started training at when I was 19 years old. And it is just the best. And I've kind of like taken off like a rocket since I've been back there, to the point that I'm kicking myself for not going back there sooner. 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭's trying to high-five me, but I don't want to mess up the audio, so.
You audio snob. I want it, fine, virtual high five, whatever.
We can do what the kids do. Air high five! Bam! Anyway. Yeah, so if you're at a gym and you're just like not digging the vibes, or you don't like the stuff that they have, or you don't like the crowd that's there, like go to a different gym. That's another way to really improve your environment, because another part of your environment that we didn't even touch upon are the people around you in your life. Now, of course, you can't just swap out all the people in your life if they're not fitting your vibe right now. But, some people you kind of can, to a degree. Like, if there are people in your life that are just consistently kind of dragging you down, or it feels like they're just sabotaging you left and right, it might be a good time to start thinking about if those people are worth having in your life. Sometimes you don't have control over that, but sometimes you do. So I just thought I would put that out there.
It's true. Although nobody's all good and all bad, and sometimes you got to take a look at yourself and what's really irking you, because there is blame there as far as others not fitting into the person you're becoming. But like, sometimes it's a little selfish, and sometimes you kind of just have to roll with it, and you don't want to cut everyone out of your life because you're on this look, I did it the past 6 months. I pushed all the love away. I went to one bodybuilding show, one of my shows, and I was the only one that had no supporters, and Danny wasn't there.
I couldn't be there. It's not like I didn't want to be there. I couldn't be there.
You say that, but I also took your set of keys. So you had no way to get there.
Yeah, he did. I was going to try to surprise him and show up, and then I went to go somewhere, to the grocery store, the gym, and I was like, dude, do you have my keys? And he was like, oops. I was like, guess I'm stuck here all weekend.
Could be circumstance. There could be something underlying there. I'm not prideful to the point where I'm not going to take a look inside and take a hard look at myself and say, you know what, 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐞? Maybe you were so laser-like focused and so hell-bent on this mission to do this thing that you straight up pushed all the love away and all the closest people in your life and everyone that mattered to you the most away. And now look at you. You're at a show by yourself. So, be careful. Like, it's okay to take your space, and it's okay to create these boundaries. Just make sure that you do it in a way where you're still having a healthy, balanced life outside of your goal, I guess, would be something to think about,
Yeah, just consider your circle. There's a lot of people that say you are going to be most like the 5 closest people to you, or like the 5 closest people to you are really indicative of who you are. I've thought about that a lot as circles have changed sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if that is if that's the person that I want to be like, as it turns out, and relationships change. So yeah, and people, I'm still talking about it like it's this offhand, like, oh yeah, I just remembered that people matter, but the human beings in our life are an enormous part of our environment. So I don't mean to be flip about it. It's huge. It's just so individual and circumstantial that it is totally not something that we could really dive into in this podcast. But it is part of your environment.
Let's switch over to something that's a little less concrete and probably a little harder to discuss. So think about this a little bit, Danny. I do feel like it's worth unpacking a little bit, if you will. How about your internal environment? How about your mental space? How about physiologically, right? How your nervous system is firing off and how you train your neural pathways. How about all of that? Like how you're feeling emotionally, like what do you do on the inside, right? This is a very vain thing that we do. We talk a lot about physique. We talk about displays of strength. We talk about, a lot about our external environment, our physical environment. What about internally? What about your internal environment? How do you feel about that in terms of setting it up properly? Because I know you work on it a ton, and I know I do as well.
I think everybody should be in therapy, period, full stop. At some point in your life, everybody should go to therapy. Right. But yeah, of course, I think your internal environment may very well play more of a role than anything else that we've talked about here. And when I say internal environment, this isn't just a room you can go around and set up the way that you want to, the way you could set up your office or your bedroom. It's literally the way that you think. It's the way you perceive the world. It's the way you talk to yourself, like all day. Like it's the voice that's in your head all the time. It's the automatic thoughts that you have. And that's not something I'd be like, well, just have you thought about not having those thoughts? But, I do think when it comes to your internal environment, so to speak, mindfulness is key. Like awareness of what's going on is key. And for that, for so many people, meditation is a godsend because it helps you to just kind of notice what's going on in there. Hopefully from like a non-judgy place. You're just like watching it, almost like you're watching a movie on a wall or something, but it's just your thoughts coming and going and etc. But you can't change anything. You can't fix anything if you're not even aware of it. And I think because we've all had this internal monologue running in our head since birth, basically, we just think that that voice in our head is us. And, you know, it's not actually us. It's just the thoughts that we're having. And you can change them. You can affect them once you are aware of them. And I think able to kind of separate yourself from them a little bit.
So the scary part here is the buy-in, because awareness is something that doesn't happen because you want it. Like, I'm going to pay attention to like what's going on internally now in my brain and in my body. So I'm aware because I'm paying attention to it. No, it, like anything else, it's a skill. You have to develop awareness. It doesn't come automatically because you think about being aware or you're focused on something. That's where the mindfulness and meditation come into play. But it doesn't have to be that way. It could be anything. It could be your yoga. It could be journaling. It could be whatever it means to you to become a more aware person. However, again, and I have to reiterate here, if you do not work on awareness, you will not have the skills that it takes to be a person who is more aware of themselves. Now here comes the buy-in. As you become aware, you may not like what you find. You may discover things that are confusing. You may find that it disrupts your, I don't want to say quality of life, but it disrupts your focus and what you're doing because now you're caught up on things you were otherwise unaware of, right? Those automatic thoughts, like Danny said. What do you do with that? Well, it's a little bit painful. If you have the privilege, you could theoretically have some help, like counsel. Talking is helpful. Having someone to bounce your thoughts off of is also helpful. You could also do this on your own. And you could also recognize that, hey, you are growing as a person and that, like anything else, the beginning can be confusing and painful. And then as you get into it, there is a light at the end of the tunnel and it is rewarding and it gets so much better as you become more aware and you'll realize that, like, wow, you may not be lucid and clear and worry-free and carefree. However, you are relatively aware of how your body and your mind and your spirit and your heart are doing. And it's a little easier to navigate your day and also know like how it's affecting you and how it's affecting others and how it's affecting what you want to do and how you do it, which will make a difference because what you put out into the world comes back to you, like it or to some degree. Then to some degree, I'm not saying that the universe is yours and yours alone. However, you are part of the universe. You are part of the collective, and some of what you do does come back to you. You are responsible for some of what comes back to you.
Moments like this, I wish we had a video podcast.
Why is that? Because the way you look at it.
Yeah. All right. I was with you right up till the end there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's we can agree to disagree there. Sure. That's fine. Perception is to each person, I suppose. Fair enough. But one thing I did want to mention: all of these different areas of environment, from your kitchen cabinet to your cluttered brain, like all of these things, setting up your environment, they all need to be subject to change. You need to have enough flexibility built into these systems that you can recognize when something that maybe was working really well suddenly isn't working that great anymore and you need to change it. So systems are great, habits are great, but flexibility, in my opinion, just needs to be built in because we are all constantly changing all the time.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our Vegan Proteins members only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, you'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry, you have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at Vegan Proteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
Moving on to our question and answer segment. This question is from Diana. It says, has anyone seen a big difference between eating at maintenance versus eating in the gaining phase, which I assume means a caloric surplus? Can you really build muscle while you're at maintenance? I need to build my legs, but also trim my waistline. So gaining is a little intimidating.
So the context here is to trim your waistline and build your legs up. And the thought is there a need to be in a gaining phase? Like, what are you doing when you're in a maintenance phase? That sounds like what you're thinking about. Well, I think the answer, like everything else, is it depends.
Well, it was also, can you build muscle while you're at maintenance? Let's start there.
Yeah, totally. The question is, are you going to build enough muscle? The question is, are you selling yourself short? Should you be in a gaining phase? When you say you want to trim your waistline, again, it all depends here. Like, how much weight do you feel like you want to lose? If you're in a position where you can focus on body fat loss while you're in a phase where you focus on composition, meaning gaining, then I think so. I think you could be at maintenance and gain plenty of muscle. Are you newer to training consistently? Is it like year 1, year 2, or year 3? Then I think so. If you've been training for at least 2 years and you're at a relatively healthy body composition, then I think you may want to consider the idea of being in a gaining phase. I'm not saying to be in a gaining phase, just consider it, because being at maintenance, you can actually sell yourself short. The other thing is, what kind of work do you want to do over the next 1 to 3 years? Because if you put yourself in a gaining phase, you will put on muscle. However, you'll likely be putting yourself in a position where you'll eventually want to be in a dieting down phase to get back to a leaner state. So you are front loading and putting yourself in a position where the work you're putting in, you're going to get the output that you want, meaning you'll be putting on muscle. You're also on the back end, you're setting yourself up for some more work. But hey, we're all about growth and investing in yourself long term, not just what you want to look like right now, what you want to look like in 5 years. You're not doing this for a year. You're planning on doing this long term, right? So you should be thinking about the next 5 years. And yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to consider being in a gaining phase. I really don't. I honestly, and this is how I feel, Danny and Diane and listeners, if you are someone who lifts, and if you are someone who wants to tone or wants to be more muscular, if you want to change your shape in any way, shape, or form, I don't care what your starting point is. At some point in your path, especially when you found some success, and when I say path, timeline, I mean 5 years, you're going to want to be in a gaining phase. If you've never been in a gaining phase, and you've been doing this for more than, say, 2 or 3 years, and you found some success with dieting or getting leaner or just like being consistent, and you're not thinking about being in a gaining phase, you're doing yourself a disservice. Everyone should be in a gaining phase at least once, preferably 2 or 3 times. So that all said, yeah, you can build muscle in a maintenance phase, all depending, especially when the focus is body fat loss. All right, Danny, this message is for you. This is from Kim. And Kim is asking about injuries. When you're injured and you can't exercise the way you normally do it, is there any way that you want to adjust your macros in the interim?
This is a good question. I get this question a lot when people are injured or sick. They want to know if they should cut their calories. And my answer is usually no. Sometimes we'll cut a little bit. But generally speaking, if you're injured or sick, you need to heal, and your body requires energy to do that. So let's say all you do is lift, right? Like that's your main form of exercise. You're only burning an additional, I don't know, 150 calories maybe in a lifting session. Sorry to break your heart. Like in addition to what you'd burn just sitting in a chair. Lifting doesn't burn very many calories. So let's say you have to take a week off from training or 2 weeks off from training, but you've injured your knee. That knee needs energy to heal. So are we really going to cut 150 calories and possibly prolong that injury or that illness? No. So usually I say just hang tight. Just hang tight where you are. A couple of instances where I might say, go ahead and make some changes. And if I was going to cut calories, I would leave protein right where it is and I'd trim it from carbohydrates and fat. So a couple of instances where I might trim the calories away would be if somebody is in a gaining phase, then you can go ahead and shave that 100 to 200 calories right off the top, because you don't need to be in a surplus while you're trying to heal from something. You can be a little bit lower than that. The other one is if it's like an endurance athlete. You know, if somebody is training for a half marathon and they're running 8, 9, 10 miles multiple times in a week, and now suddenly they cannot, that is the difference of like not burning off, you know, sometimes up to 1,000 calories, you know? So yeah, they don't need to eat an additional 1,000 calories if they're not doing this thing that they normally do, that their diet normally supports. So yeah, then I would recommend cutting the calories. But for most people, I say just hang tight till you get through the illness, till you get through the injury. Hopefully you'll recover quicker, and then you can be right back at it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. If you have any questions that you'd like answered on the podcast or suggestions of things you'd like to hear, please reach out to us, coach@veganproteins.com. You can also find us on Instagram, on YouTube, the Vegan Proteins channel, and we look forward to hearing from you. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.